up, fellow Anthro 102 students? I'm out in my backyard today. It's incredibly difficult to find a quiet place to make videos for 5 to 7 minutes with a 2-year-old at home on a Sunday. So my apologies if there are outside noises going on here, or if I try to talk quietly so that not my entire neighborhood has to listen to me making this video. But I am going to be talking with you today about ring-tailed lemurs. They are a prosimian suborder of primate, and frankly, I don't understand all the hype behind why they are listed as kind of non-intellectual. They're one of the most adaptive primates available. They have recurved canines. They're omnivorous. They can adapt to pretty much any environment. They live in several different kinds of forests. They prefer gallery forest, but will live in deciduous or any other kind of forest you can imagine. In Madagascar, they're all across the southern side. They're kind of indigenous to the southwest and the south sides, but can be found as far north as probably the midway part of the island of Madagascar. They are mostly gray. They've got kind of cream or off-white or white-colored bellies, and they'll have 12 to 13 white rings on their tails and 13 to 14 black rings on their tails, which oddly enough will match almost exactly the number of vertebrae that they have. I find that is probably their most deciding feature, although a lot of people also kind of zoom in on the triangular shape of the black fur surrounding their eyes, and their fur coats actually are so thick that if they were shaved, they would clog a commercial set of clippers, which is kind of crazy. They don't get very big. The adults are, not sexually dimorphic in nature for the most part. About the only difference between them that's been recorded for a wide-ranging number is the size of the canines, and even that is minimal. But they get to be about 5 pounds on average, and they're usually between 2 and 3 feet tall, or shorter. They normally inhabit groups of anywhere between 6 and 30. So some mid-range there of that size group would be great for them in some kind of an actual habitat. And they're actually more terrestrial than most of the other primates. They spend about a third of their time on the ground, and the other 2/3 of their time in the trees, split up between the different tree layers. And they're actually one of the most vocal among all of the primates, which again I think is kind of out of the ordinary for what you might consider a prosimian to be, because not to be confused with persimmon, by the way, not the little orange fruit, prosimian, the primate, but they're smart. They're incredibly smart and adaptive. Their diets actually, they're omnivorous. I mentioned that earlier. They can eat meat and vegetables or fruits. They eat tree leaves. They are especially fond, actually, of the tamarind tree because of its availability in Madagascar and the fact that this sweet fruit is available for a good chunk of the year. And so when you take a look at some of the other things that make them unique, they are actually, they have the multi-male sexual order, and their females are primarily at the top of all of their hierarchies. In almost every circumstance, you're going to find that females sit at the top for every social interaction, including sexual activity, including feeding even, actually. They'll have kind of top choice. They're the first ones at the table when the time comes for that. They are quadrupeds, so they walk on all fours, and their tails actually are not used for hanging or anything, even though they're so long. They're longer than their actual bodies. But they walk on hands and feet. They have thumbs, but not opposable. They are distinct and separate from the other 4 phalanges, but because of the ball joint being fixed in place, they're not capable of grabbing things the same way a human might. So if I were to design a habitat, you need to keep all of these things in mind naturally. And so I think Jen mentioned this in her video. You can go check out the lemur walk. They are diurnal, so they do primarily the majority of their activity during the day, which I think is odd because their eyes are actually set up in such a way that they have great night vision, but still they are most active during the day. They primarily sleep at night. They sleep in very large groups. So if I were going to design a habitat, I'd probably have 15 to 20 of them, so there'd be group size growth availability if they wanted it, and I would have it primarily male because they are a multi-male sexual hierarchy. Polygonandrous is the term that refers to that whole thing. I would include tamarind trees if possible. If it were here in Escondido where I live and near the safari park, it may not be possible for them to grow, but something that would increase food availability for them and their ability to forage without the need for keepers to bring their food all the time would be great. And keeping them somewhere where they can get to water. Like I mentioned earlier, they primarily prefer to live near the gallery forest. So I would definitely want to include water and terrestrial as well as arboreal habitat features for them so that they can be stimulated. And size, actually, it may not need to be large, but I would recommend having a larger habitat because these larger groups of animals are going to need to spread out. They're going to need to do something to keep themselves entertained. They're going to need to do something to be stimulated and to learn, and that is something they are capable of. Wish you all the best. I hope this assignment did well for all of you. I hope you had a great 4th of July. I am signing off.